Hi everyone, terrific Tuesday to all of you again. Today we're going to take the passage from 2 Kings chapter 18 in our video devotion. So if you have your Bible, whichever version that you are using, go to 2 Kings chapter 18. And I'm going to start reading from verse 1 using the NIV version. In the third year of Hosea, son of Elah, king of Israel. So this time Israel was split into two kingdoms. One was Israel, the other was Judah. And here Hosea was the king of Israel. Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. So Hezekiah was 25 years old. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother name was Abijah, daughter of Zechariah. And this is the part here that reads, verse 3, he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father David has done. Just remember that phrase there, okay? Just as his father David has done. He removed all the high places, smashed the sacred stone, cut down the Asherah poles. He broke into pieces the bronze snake Moses has made. For up to that time, the Israelite has been burning incense to it. It was called Nehushtan. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him among all the kings of Judah, either before him or after him. He held fast to the Lord and did not stop following him, and he kept the commands the Lord has given to Moses. Verse 7, and the Lord was with him, and he was successful in whatever he undertook. I want to stop there. That sounds like a very familiar passage, that phrase there. And the Lord was with him, and he was very successful. You find that was where it was a description almost about Joseph when he was sold to Egypt as a slave, and then later on as a prisoner in the dungeon. You find that it was repeated twice, and the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, both as a slave and as a prisoner, here as a king. What was interesting to me in this reading from verse 1 all the way to verse 7 was a few things that really struck up to me, and I really would want to entitle The One True God. The One True God. And why we want to call it the One True God? Because here you find in verse 4 in 2 Kings chapter 18, Hezekiah removed the high places, smashed the sacred stone, cut down the Asherah poles. He broke to pieces the bronze snake Moses has made. When did Moses make this? This was recorded in Numbers 20, when the people rebelled against God, and they took the manna, and it says, what sort of worthless bread is this? And then snakes came, and many of them died. Moses and Aaron went to plead before God. God told them to make a bronze serpent, hold it up, those who were beaten to look at the bronze serpent. That is the same bronze serpent, and they have even given it a name. The name is Nehushtan. Nehushtan. So at that time in Jerusalem, people were not only worshipping foreign gods, the Asherah poles, they were worshipping stones, and they were worshipping, they think they're worshipping God, just because Moses made it. They think they're worshipping God, but yet Hezekiah broke all of them because it was idolatry. It was idol worshipping, because God says, do not make any images. Okay? What was interesting was that this was a young man. He was 25 years old. When I was 25 years old, I wasn't that smart. But here it tells you something. His mother's name was Abijah, the daughter of Zechariah. So your mother's influence is actually very important. How you are brought up in the family, how your mother input, the parents normally, traditionally, now it's quite different. Traditionally, the dad would be the one working, the dad would be the one bringing bread. Now we have a double income, which is really good. But, the parents' input, whether it's father or mother, parents' input into a child to groom the child, how the child should grow, is very, very important. So Abijah was the mother of King Hezekiah, and it says this, that what Hezekiah did was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father David has done. Do you know how many years between King David reign and King Hezekiah? You know how many years that portion is? That portion, that period from David to Hezekiah is about roughly 300 odd years. So what David did as a man after God's own heart, the true God, the one true God, what David had after the one true God, his influence was so dramatic that even 300 years later, when he's 12th generation down, it's like if you count from David to Hezekiah, exactly 12 generations down. 12 generations down from David to Hezekiah, you find that the Bible says that he did what was right. Hezekiah did what was right in the eyes of God, not in the eyes of man. He did what was right in the eyes of God, just as his father David did. This is actually his great grandfather. All right. 12 generations ago, and yet God remembered what David did. Parents, you have a tremendous influence on your generations to come. They may not see you physically, but what you do for the Lord, in the Spirit, has tremendous influence over your children. Okay? And what Hezekiah did here was this. He smashed down any symbol of religion, the Asherah poles, the sacred stone, even that Nehushtan, the bronze serpent, which Moses made to stop a plague. They were offering sacrifices there. God doesn't need any man-made item to be used to worship him. That is idol worshipping. So if you are a believer of God, if you are a believer of Jesus Christ, if you are a believer that Jesus is the only Son of God that have come on earth to die for you and me, we don't need any symbol, nor any pictures, not even the cross. Don't even pray to the cross. Why? Because that's idol worshipping. And it says this part here. So number one, parents, you have influence. Number two, your what you do can impact generations down the road. Number three, God does not need any figurines or any pictures to be used to represent him in worship. And number four is Hezekiah, verse 5. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was no one like him. You and I, we need to trust God, especially in this time when there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. You need to put our trust in God. And it says this, verse 6, he held fast to the Lord and did not stop following him. So it tells you that he held fast. Hezekiah held fast, and therefore we need to hold fast to our confession of faith that Jesus is our Lord and our God. So as we hold fast, we trust in the Lord, what happened is this: he kept, it says in verse 7, the Lord was with him and he was successful in whatever he undertook. So for us to be successful in our life, to live that fulfilling life, we only have to do one thing: hold fast to the one true God who came as man. His name is Jesus Christ. He died for us. He was crucified, was buried. On the third day, he rose again and has now ascended to heaven, seated at the right hand of the Father, waiting for all his enemies to be made his footstool. The last enemy being death. He will deal with death once for all, and there will be no more death. And beloved, you and I, we need to come and set our hearts straight before the one true God. And just like Jesus, sit down and be rested in him and let God put all our enemies under our footstool in Christ Jesus. And when we hold on to Jesus, when we hold fast, even though things on the outside look so uncertain, things on the outside look so fearful, things on the outside look so confusing. One moment is easing of restriction, next moment is lockdown. Whatever is happening, hold fast. And when you are with the Lord, when you hold fast to God, the Lord is already with you, because his Spirit, his Holy Spirit lives in you. And whatever you do, because you are in Christ, it will be successful. In Jesus' name. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you, protect you, keep you safe and healthy. Even in this time, the Lord prosper you, you and your family, your ministry, your church, and the Lord's gracious shalom peace be over you and your loved ones, and everything you do will bring glory to Jesus Christ. God loves you. Jesus loves you. Love you guys. God bless you. In Jesus' name, amen. Bye-bye.